Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Now, broccoli is extremely versatile. It is probably one of my favorite vegetables. It is relatively inexpensive and it can be used in many different types of dishes. For example, you can cook broccoli with other vegetables, or you can cook broccoli with the favorite protein that you prefer. So the flexibility of broccoli make it actually one of the favorite vegetables in the United States. And you can season broccoli in many different ways to provide different type of flavor to go with whatever that you might be eating. Now, broccoli is easy to prep, and in fact, broccoli can be prepped in a matter of several minutes. However, in this video, I'm also going to show you how to prep the stem of the broccoli so you can make use of the entire head of broccoli without having any waste. Broccoli is one of those vegetables that I always have in my advanced prepping, simply because broccoli has excellent shelf life. I usually can store broccoli in the refrigerator after I prep them for at least about 1 week to 10 days. When I purchase broccoli, most of the time I would buy them in a plastic wrapping. When I bring it home, I always try to prep them as soon as possible, because when I store them in plastic container, they give me much longer shelf life. So in here, I'm going to use my cutting board, and this is a medium-sized cutting board, which is perfect for prepping broccoli. The important thing is that make sure that the cutting board will not slip on the surface of your counter. For prepping the broccoli, I'm going to use my ceramic vegetable knife. A ceramic vegetable knife is a perfect knife for prepping vegetables because they stay sharp much longer than steel knife. Now, I have been using this knife for about 2 years, and it has remained sharp all this time without the need for sharpening it. Now, I also have a steel vegetable knife. With the steel vegetable knife, I need to sharpen it regularly. And here is a test to see how sharp the knives are. This is frequently known as the paper test. A knife is considered to be sharp if it can pass this paper test. And the test is very simple. Is to simply use the knife, see whether the knife can slice through the paper or not. As you can see here, the steel knife has a really hard time to cut through the paper. Now, when that happens, it suggests that you need to sharpen the knife. Now, let's take the ceramic knife as an example, and you can see that the ceramic knife has no problem in slicing through the paper. Now, remember, I have used this knife for over 2 years. As you can see, it still retains its sharp edge. The broccoli is probably the simplest vegetables to prep. All you have to do is turn the broccoli upside down, and you use your knife to cut off the florets one by one. And that is very simple and straightforward, and it takes only about a few minutes to cut through all the florets. The next task is to cut the florets to the size that you want. Now, you want to cut them to just about the right size, not too big and not too small. If the floret is too big, it will take longer to cook, and they are harder to eat. However, if the floret is too small, they might not have the same culinary experience that you are looking for. So the best size is to cut it just about right. As shown here, number 1 is too big, and number 4 is too small. So the right size is between 2 and 3, and this case is probably up to personal preference. And in my case, I prefer the floret about number 3 size. So after you have removed all the florets from the head of the broccoli, the next step is just simply pick the right size that you want, and then you trim them to that size. When it comes down to washing the broccoli, I usually take 2 different approaches. If the broccoli looks very clean, I usually do not wash them. However, if the broccoli look just not quite right, then I will rinse them before I cut them. Now, the other approach is that I will cut them and store them away. And then when I'm ready to use it, then I will rinse it in a colander and let it dry a little bit before I cook them. If I wash them before I cut the broccoli, I will make sure that I will let them air dry before I cut them, because I do not want the broccoli to be wet when I store them. This will reduce their shelf life. Broccoli has excellent shelf life when you store them dry. I usually put them in plastic containers, and they will last up to 2 weeks. But most of the time, I will try to use them in about 10 days. However, under most circumstances, I probably will use them up in about 5 to 7 days. Since I shop once a week, broccoli is always on my shopping list. Now, until about I met with my cousin Marge, I used to throw away the stem. But she told me that what a waste if you throw away the stem. And Marge told me that the broccoli stem actually is wonderfully flavorful. And she said that she used broccoli stem in many different dishes. But her favorite way to use the broccoli stem is in a fried rice. Because by dicing the broccoli stems, you can put in a fried rice. It will enhance the flavor of the fried rice in wonderful ways. At the same time, you will not find the broccoli stem to be fibrous. To dice the broccoli stem, you first cut into thin slices, and then you cut them into strips. Now, when you cut in this way, make sure you keep your fingertips away from the knife. And the way to do it is to tuck your finger toward the palm of your hand, and then you use the back of the finger to glide the knife. So this way, your fingertips will be always out of harm's way. This cutting method is known as the claw technique. It is the safest way to use knife in the kitchen. And if you want to learn more about this cutting method, you can take a look at this video. This method is highly practical and efficient. It is probably the safest way for cutting anything in the kitchen. The next step is simply dicing the broccoli stems. The size of the broccoli chunks actually play a very important role. If they're too big, it will take too long for them to cook. And the best thing is to cut them as small as you possibly can. I use the broccoli chunk as suggested by my cousin Marge in fried rice, and I usually try to cut them as small as possible. So I will go through it with several passes, and this way will allow me to chop them as small as possible. Because when they're small, you can cook them very rapidly. Now, sometimes when you put the broccoli stem in the fried rice, you can also adjust the texture by when you put the broccoli stem to the fried rice during the cooking process. If you put them to the fried rice earlier, then they will be more tender. However, since I like them a little bit more crunchy, so quite often I will put them at a later stage during the cooking process. So as you can see here, there is no waste from the head of broccoli. I'm able to use the floret to make at least 2 separate dishes, and I have the stem of the broccoli to make a fried rice. Prepping the broccoli stem definitely takes time, but to me it is well worth it because the broccoli stem is excellent for making fried rice, and I would encourage you to give it a try. Of course, if you don't want to bother with the broccoli stem at all, you can actually buy broccoli florets that already cut up. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system. This will allow you to cook with practicality, efficiency, creativity, and fun. If you'd like to learn more about my cooking system, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.